What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, all the additional stimulus provisions that have already been passed or are going to be possibly in the next infrastructure/stimulus package, and also what is going on in the world today. Several different stimulus things to talk about, and a fight that is currently just increasing in Congress today. Okay, so if you remember about a day or so ago, we showed the footage from Republican Representative Jim Jordan battling Dr. Fauci. I had so many comments from you guys, literally thousands of comments. Some people saying Jim Jordan's right, that Dr. Fauci should give us an answer of when the pandemic could be over. And then I had so many other comments of people saying, well, why is he talking to Dr. Fauci that way? He's totally out of line. And then at the end of that fight, I'll say, we've seen Democratic Representative Maxine Waters come in and tell Republican Representative Jim Jordan to shut his mouth. Well, apparently, this is escalating. Here's what Democratic Representative Maxine Waters has to say now.
And we just put out a $1.9 trillion piece of legislation to make sure that people have food on their tables, getting a $1,400 stimulus check, $300 to help with unemployment, money to the cities and the states. And I have worked very hard on rental assistance. Now, between December and now, I have created over $47 billion for people to be able to get the back rent paid and paid. And here you have Jordan coming to the committee, challenging the most credible human being on this issue of dealing with this pandemic. Well, I want you to know that Dr. Fauci has been responsible for encouraging people to do what the experts tell us to do. He's been responsible for helping us to get to the point where we can see the light of day. We can defeat this virus if we are only listening and paying attention. And so Jordan is a bully. And he tried to intimidate Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci has more credible in his little finger than Jordan will ever have. And yes, I shut him down because we did not need him. Number one, disrespecting the chairman, and then trying to bully and intimidate Dr. Fauci. Sometimes you just have to do that and get back to the issues so that we can deal with what the public sends us to Congress to do. And that is solve problems and provide a safety net for all of our people.
So Representative Maxine Waters there says that Republican Representative Jim Jordan is a bully and that he shouldn't have been doing that at all. However, Republicans are fighting back against Maxine Waters. Well, remember Republican Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene? Remember, she was the Republican representative to introduce articles of impeachment for President Biden before he even got into office. Before he even got into office, she said she was going to file articles of impeachment on his first day. And she did. She filed articles of impeachment on President Biden's first day in office. And it obviously didn't go anywhere because the Democrats control the House and the Senate. And it would need to pass the House and the Senate to be impeached, or at least the House to they consider it when you pass the House, it's technically impeached, but it doesn't finalize the process unless it's passed in both, via former President Donald Trump. We've seen that happen. And then she herself almost got thrown out of Congress for several controversial moves. And well, it seems like she's fighting back against Maxine Waters. As you can see here, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene calls for Representative Waters' expulsion from Congress for inciting a riot in Minnesota. She says the Republican Congresswoman called Waters a danger to our society. Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene announced an effort Sunday to expel Maxine Waters from Congress after she told protesters in Minnesota to get more confrontational if the Derek Chauvin trial isn't convicted of murdering George Floyd. In a statement released by her office, Taylor Greene accused California Congresswoman of, quote, inciting the BLM domestic terrorists to fire gunshots at National Guardsmen in Minnesota. after she spoke in the Brooklyn Center, which has become a flashpoint for protests following the police shooting of Daunte Wright. Taylor Greene says, I'll be introducing a resolution to expel Representative Maxine Waters from Congress for her continual incitement of violence. A statement from Taylor Greene's office reads, Representative Maxine Waters told reporters on Saturday that if former police officer Chauvin isn't found guilty of murdering Floyd, quote, we've got to stay on the street and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure they know that we mean business. Marjorie Taylor Greene calls Waters a danger to our society and accused her of traveling across state lines to incite riots. Quote, her orders recorded on video last night at the Brooklyn Center directly led to more violence and a drive-by shooting on National Guardsmen in Minnesota early this morning. As a sitting United States Congresswoman, Representative Maxine Waters threatened a jury, demanded a guilty verdict, and threatened violence if Chauvin is found not guilty. This is also an abuse of power, she continues, before adding that Representative Waters must be expelled from Congress. Now, remember, there's that old saying that my father says, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And remember, the Democrats impeached former President Donald Trump the second time around in the House of Representatives for inciting a riot. So, yeah, it's kind of the exact same situation. If you think that Trump, former President Donald Trump, was guilty of inciting a riot, you almost could say the same thing for Representative Maxine Waters. However, the difference is the power right now in Congress. The Democrats control the House and the Senate, so it'd be very, very interesting to see the Democratic Party expel their own one of their own members. Remember, just like we've seen in former President Donald Trump's 2 different impeachment trials, the House of Representatives passed it both times because they were controlled by the Democrats. Almost all Republicans voted no on it. And then when it went to the Senate, which was controlled by Mitch McConnell and the Republicans at the time, almost every Republican, except for I think one, I think there was Republican Mitch Romney was the only one to vote for it, if I recall correctly. But all the Republicans besides that voted no, and he wasn't formally impeached to be removed from office because the Senate voted no both times. So it'll be interesting to see if anything happens with this because in my opinion, you can let me know your opinion, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's inciting a riot. That's why you got to be very careful with what you say today. I am talking on YouTube to you, right? You got to be very careful with what you say because people take things literally and they'll take your words very literal based on what you say nowadays. So, luckily, I can't be expelled by Congress, right? Or can I? You never know. Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi might be coming for me after all the trash I've talked on both of them because, basically, that's why I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat because I just think that both sides have so many problems with them. I consider myself a realist, but I also consider myself a pro-stimulus. I want you guys to get as much help as you can from the government. And people think I'm a Democrat now because I'm pro-stimulus. I want to get as much stimulus passed. But really, last year, if we go back just a few months ago, Republicans were in charge of the Senate and the presidency. So Republicans had more control over the 5 stimulus packages back then. And people were calling me Republican back then because, again, I'm just pro-stimulus. I want you guys to get as much help as you can. It just happens to be that now the Democrats are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So if anybody's going to pass stimulus, now it's the Democrats. It used to be mostly the Republicans, with Republicans control of 2 out of the 3. So again, I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat. I get those comments all the time. I'm here to just bring you the news as a straight shooter, right down the middle, sometimes left, sometimes right, based on the situation if it calls for it. I'm a straight shooter. I'm a realist. I'm going to bring you the real news and let you guys decide. And sometimes I'll give you my opinion, but it's not based on being a Democrat or Republican because honestly, I'm just not either side. I'll tell you though, this trial, which we might see them start deliberating today on, or even see a verdict today, that trial is a ticking bomb. Man, I always get so nervous about saying all those critical words on YouTube because yeah, I'm not trying to get censored. But yeah, so I think that's a very controversial issue, and we could see very bad situations. As you've seen, we already seen a drive-by. So yeah, I'll have more information for you guys later today if we get more information out of the trial. President Biden is holding a second meeting with bipartisan lawmakers on the infrastructure slash stimulus package today as he continues to try to shore up Republican support to try to possibly pass this infrastructure package with Republican votes. The Republican counter proposal is only 600 to 800 billion dollars, and the Democrats slash President Biden's proposal for this infrastructure package, just the first half of it, is $2.2 trillion. So I don't know, man. I think they're just way too far apart to be able to come to a deal. I don't think Republicans are going to want to go up over $1 trillion. They've done that in the past with past stimulus packages. Probably one of the most notable one was the second stimulus check package that was just under $1 trillion. There was originally no money in there at all for a second stimulus check. And the outcry of you guys and the push from our community and also congressmen and congresswomen, eventually they took that money away from the states and cities and gave it to you guys as the second stimulus check because the Republicans just didn't want to go over $1 trillion. It seems like they'll probably be at the same position for this infrastructure package. And remember, this is just the first half of it. It's just the physical infrastructure. The second half of it is what Senator Bernie Sanders says is the human infrastructure. And that's likely where we will see added in even up to the last day they can do this. And that's what they did with the second stimulus check. It was literally added in just a few days before they passed it. They added in the second stimulus check, then they wrote the bill, and then they passed it in the House and passed it in the Senate. It was like boom, 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 boom. So literally up until like 2 days before, there was no stimulus check. I think that is what will happen in the second half of this infrastructure package. We'll likely see at least a single stimulus check of at least, in my opinion, $1,400 to $2,000. I think that is the worst case scenario. I think the best case scenario is this monthly stimulus checks that we have more and more Democratic support for every single day and more groups coming out and advocating for that. I also think we're going to probably see the Medicare expansion in there. Most people, well, I can't say most people. Some people would consider Medicare infrastructure. They would consider like unemployment programs and Medicare programs and Medicaid programs the infrastructure of America. Of course, it's not physical infrastructure. You can't touch it at all. You can't touch the Social Security program. Maybe you can touch the check that comes in the mail, right? You get or on your card, you get that card and it puts the money in your card and you're like, ooh, I could touch that. But you can't touch the Social Security program. You can't touch the unemployment program. Maybe you could go to their building and touch it, right? But it's not like a road or a bridge. It's human infrastructure. It's the infrastructure of our country. Remember, our country is now more than ever digital. I mean, you can just transfer money through apps and PayPal and Cash App, and we have cryptocurrency now, and you can buy groceries on. We buy groceries from Walmart and have it delivered here to our house. We don't even have to leave our house. So all that's infrastructure. I mean, that's all the infrastructure of how our country runs: transferring money, ordering goods. So you definitely could make the argument. I would say that Social Security and unemployment programs and social programs like that are the backbone of our country. Without Social Security and the unemployment programs, which were both created after the 1929 crash that lingered on for years and years and years, they created those programs in 1935. Imagine what life was like back then with no stimulus checks, no stimulus programs, no unemployment bonuses, no unemployment at all. They didn't even create it until 1935. There was no unemployment and there was no Social Security program. There was no government disability programs. There was no safer retirement programs. So basically, you were on your own. And at one point in the Great Depression, 50% of people lost their jobs. 50%. And when you lost your job, that was it. There was no, the government's going to send you a check to help you out in your time of need. There was, you're out on the street and they're shutting your electric off. And if you've ever watched the movie Cinderella Man, oh, that is such a good movie. One of my most favorite movies. I love a lot of movies like that. They motivate me in business and in life. And I've been a wrestler. I was second in the state. You could see my medal back there in Ohio. It's a big part of my life. But they start off in the Great Depression, and it shows a real life true story about how Cinderella Man, he comes out of there and boxes his way out, and he's a true inspiration to the people. And I consider that not, it's dramatic, but that's how I consider my life and a lot of people's life, that you can start from nothing and just work your way up. And here I am talking to you on YouTube. This is one of our three businesses right now. We have a business selling products on Amazon and a business teaching products on Amazon. And here I am talking to you on YouTube, and we're about to reach 100 million views. So anything is possible in the United States. So the American dream is alive, whether you believe it or not. I know it's a tough situation right now, but go watch that movie, Cinderella Man, and it just shows you that anybody can start from nothing. I mean, he literally had his electricity turned off, and he had to send his kids over to other families' house because they couldn't pay the electric bill. And he fought his way out. I know it's an extreme story because we're all not boxers, but I'm not a boxer either. But let me know if you've seen that movie. I really hold that movie near and dear to my heart. I'll shed a few tears when I watched that movie. It's such a good movie. Speaking of government programs, Kirsten Sinema, however you want to pronounce it, Democratic senator, one of the middle-leaning senators, is exploring a federal minimum wage of $11 an hour, which is lower than her own state. 20 different states in the United States still have a minimum wage of $7.25. She's actually teaming up with some Democrats and some Republicans from the Senate. She's the leader from the Democratic side, although middle leaning, with Mitch McConnell, or not, sorry, not Mitch McConnell, Mitch Romney from the Republicans, who's also middle leaning. And they're both coming out with a bipartisan proposal for a minimum wage to increase it when we're expecting to be around $11 an hour, which would be a 50% increase from the $7.25 it is now. Although that won't happen instantly. We won't go from $7.25 instantly to $11 an hour. It'll likely be a phase-in for a few years. And this is what I've been telling you I've been expecting, that the votes just were not there for the $15 an hour. Republicans were totally against it. And once the Senate parliamentarians threw it out of the third stimulus check package, said it couldn't be passed with the budget reconciliation process, and really they didn't have enough votes anyways. They did an amendment vote in the Senate, and they only got 42 Democratic votes for it. There was 8 Democratic senators that voted against it. They said just $15 an hour is just too much. I mean, that's more than double of the $7.25 it is now. Remember, your state can have higher minimum wage if they want, and a lot of do. So there's several states that have passed a $15 an hour minimum wage. Most notably, Florida, I think, is the largest one. However, again, it goes up in stages. Florida doesn't get there until I think it's 2026. So it's going to go up by about $2 a year per then. But as you know, the cost of living is very different in, say, Northeast Ohio or Iowa versus, say, Miami, Florida, or New York City or LA, where $15 an hour can't even get you a studio apartment. So I do think that a lot of states will continue to raise their minimum wage, but I also think that the federal minimum wage of $7.25 needs to be raised somewhat. I think the $11 an hour compromise is a middle ground where they can probably get enough votes to pass that here as a standalone bill in the near future. So I'll keep you up to date on that and all of the other stimulus items and stimulus provisions on the block for this next stimulus package. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new upcoming videos. New videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss an episode because we talk about different things in different videos, and you don't want to miss some that might pertain to you and also some interesting information. Also, yesterday I showed you why Eris Gold, today only a $250 million small cap gold company, could become a giant one day and even be called the #1 gold company for the coming decade. People may be asking, how can you be so confident about this? How do you know that you have it right? And my answer is the management of this company has been creating value for shareholders for over 30 years and billions of dollars, and they're in the prime of their careers right now. The beauty is that they have the perfect backdrop. Gold is in an epic bull market, and their stock is leveraged to the price of gold. Keep an eye on their stock today, which is symbol ALLXF. And when you think about the gold mining sector, assess their team. I'll also link to you down below in the description of this video the link to Eris Gold so you can check out their company more. Or you can click on this video from last night where I go over more about their company and also a big announcement about monthly stimulus checks, and we have obtained the bill for it. So click on that video if you haven't yet, or click the link down below, and I will see you in the next video.